Welcome to Bunnyfish Crafts. I'm your host Heather, known as Bunnyfish on Ravelry, Instagram, and YouTube. Today is Monday, the 27th of July, 2015, and this is episode 139, Tour de Fleece 15, part 4. Yes, part 4. Grab some sticks and string and come sit with me. How was your week? Mine had an event, a not great event. On Friday, Gabriel put a kernel of corn in his ear, so Steve came home from work and took him to urgent care, and urgent care tried to get the kernel out. I had looked at it to see if I could get the kernel out, but I had him go in my room, and as I was passing the master bathroom, I saw a Q-tip on the counter, and since I had just cleaned the bathroom and there was no anything on the counter, I was like, oh no. So I had him lay down on my bed because it's got really good lighting in there, and also good lighting plus somewhere to sit while I'm looking at things. I had him lay his head down on the bed, and I looked, and it was in there, and it was a bigger kernel, so it was definitely lodged. Took him to urgent care. Urgent care said, oh, we think you need to go to Children's. Children's Hospital is kind of far away, and it's kind of expensive because it's a specialty hospital, you know. So Steve called the ER and said, so what do you think about this? And the ER said, well, we'll try to get it out, but, you know, if we can't, you will still have to go to Children's. We decided to take the chance on the ER, and we actually had an amazing ER visit. I know that sounds crazy, right? Because going to the ER is terrible, usually. But it wasn't that bad. We checked in for registration. They didn't have us sit in the outside waiting room at all. They immediately had us go through to the second waiting room, and as we were opening the door to the second waiting room, a nurse came out and said, oh, is this Gabriel? So we didn't even sit in the second waiting room. We went to vitals, and as we were getting up from vitals, the nurse who was doing the extraction had just finished with her previous patient. So we immediately went to a room, never sat in a waiting room. And she was in the room like maybe 10 minutes later. I don't know. We had enough time to read 2 books together and then have a little bit of a cuddle. So it wasn't that long at all. She came in, we gave her the story of our day, and then she tried irrigation, and that didn't work. They had tried irrigation and a tool at urgent care. She tried irrigation. That didn't work. It moved it a little, it shifted it, but it didn't push it out enough. So then she tried tweezers, and that didn't work. And she had another nurse go get suction to pull the kernel out, but they never even made it that far because the second nurse brought back alligator clamps, and that worked. It's a little terrifying for Gabriel because the kernel was right against his ear, so it was painful. It was right against his eardrum when she finally got it out because it bumped the eardrum a few times and he was screaming. That was really pleasant because I was holding his head down because the second nurse was out of the room. So, you know, that was really pleasant for me. But he will never, ever, ever stick anything in his ear or nose or anything ever again. I'm pretty sure about that. And he's being very good about his eardrops. He has to have eardrops because thankfully, his eardrum is in perfect health, completely intact, no damage to the eardrum whatsoever. But the canal has 2 scratches in it, probably from urgent care and the ER staff trying to get the kernel out. But his eardrum is fine, and that's what I was worried about. So yeah, I mean, best possible outcome. I think we were at the emergency room for an hour because when we walked out, they had the paperwork that they just needed me to sign, and they administered eardrops, and yeah, walked out. It was the best kind of ER visit I've ever had. Sounds weird because ER visits are not good. And, you know, hopefully we don't have to go back ever again. Do I think that's going to happen? No. I'm sure that as Gabriel gets older and there are people to impress, we will be going to the ER more for things that sounded like a good idea at the time. But, you know, hopefully we can keep it to a minimum and all of our visits are quick and easy like this one was. I don't know. That sounds weird. Anyway, you're not here to hear about my ER visit, right? The Small Things Knit Along ends later this week. It ends on the 31st of July. I probably won't lock the thread. I will probably just put a post in the thread that says, hey, no more entries after this point, but people can still post things if they want after that, chatter and whatnot, because it's not a finished objects thread. So I'm not going to close it. I'm just going to cut off when I'm drawing prizes for. Yeah. And I'm going to do multiple prizes next week. So more than one person can win because you guys are awesome. Every time I look over at the jar with the names in it, the jar with the names in it, I get really happy because that's a lot of work, you guys. That's a ton of work that you guys did, and I'm super proud of you. I have finished objects. It's Tour de Fleece! So what do I have? Finished yarn, obviously. That's the only thing I finished this week. But I'm super excited about those finished yarns. The first one is Two Sister Stringworks Icelandic. So here's the skein. And I don't think I'll be purchasing Icelandic wool for spinning or knitting, honestly. I can't think of anything that I would super want this for. This particular fiber, the Icelandic wool, it has an undercoat and then like a guard hair coat, and this still has the guard hairs in it, so it's not very soft. I was talking to Lorraine, and she said if the fleeces are separated, like no guard hairs, the undercoat is actually really, really soft, like Mexican skin soft. But this is not the case for this. This is even too scratchy for me to make mittens for myself because I have sensitive skin. But it's beautiful. I like the way it's spun up aesthetically. I just don't like the scratchiness to it. It's a perfectly nice fiber. I'm not saying other people shouldn't spin it. Everybody should try it. If you're trying to branch out, you may as well try it. I got 340 yards. So I was going for a 2-ply fingering weight. It's not quite there, but it's not too far off either. And the color is beautiful. The color is really what got me through this spin. If it was this fiber and a color I didn't like, it never would have happened. And I'm glad that I had Tour de Fleece to come along to force me to work on it, because it's been sitting around for a very, very long time. And it's not the fiber's fault that I don't like it. I just don't like it because I have sensitive skin. It's my skin's fault. Thanks, Mom. But once again, there it is. And then the second, I'm super excited about this yarn. This is my finished yarn using the Hobbledehoy battling. And you may notice that it's a 2-ply, but it's not plied on itself. I didn't want to lose the yardage from the battlings. So last week I was talking about maybe finding a silk thread or something to ply it with, and I was talking it over with my friends, and we decided that was a better route than going with singles. And then I went over to my shelf, which is this side. Okay, so that's my sewing box, this pink thing. And on top of my sewing box, I have some spinning stuff. So you can see my plying spindles and the 2 jars that I use to hold the singles when I'm 2-plying. And behind those, I have some leftover bits of spinning. If I have singles that I didn't use for whatever reason, because I've done some 3-ply yarns that are 3 different colors. So I've had leftovers from whichever colors didn't get used. And I've done, at the first Tour de Fleece, I finished spinning my, first Tour de Fleece. I learned how to spin starting in May of whatever year that was. And then I continued spinning during the Tour de Fleece, and that helped me with my spinning a lot. But during the first couple days of Tour de Fleece, I finished all of the fiber I had because I only had one thing of fiber that Lorraine had given me to practice with. So I finished that, and I put in the rookies thread that, you know, I had finished my fiber, so I was just going to spin plastic bags for the rest of the tour because I didn't have anything else to spin. And someone contacted me and said, so I have some fiber that I'd like to send you if you send me your address. I posted the post, I think, on Saturday night. And then I went to knitting the next day, and Lorraine actually gave me more fiber because I said, you know, I had run out. And she was like, oh, well, I have this merino in my car that's been, you know, sitting in my trunk forever. You can have it. And I think it was like an ounce or 2 of merino that she wasn't using. So she gave it to me. So I wrote back to the person who had sent me that PM, and I said, well, I have a little bit of merino now, so you don't have to send it to me if you don't want to, but if you do, here's my address. And I don't know, a couple days later, Wednesday maybe, a box arrived, and it had some fibers in it, including these 2 balls of fiber, processed fiber, and there was a lot there. I've used some of both of them for different projects, but obviously there's still a lot there. Some things that I've used that for, or something that I've used it for. I made some art yarn for my best friend, and I spun that to make one of the plies of it. And it was really fun because I also, I think I spun that into a ply, and then maybe I used commercial yarn for a ply, and then I had a strand of thread with beads knotted onto it for another ply. I think that's what I did, and I don't remember when that was, but it was a really fun spin. I kind of want to make some art yarn similar to that in the future. Maybe I should get some beads and some thread and spin more of that brown. I don't know. Can you hear my kids? They're playing in the room that's against this wall. Sorry about that. I'm not actually sorry. I'm kind of just like, that's what it is when you know, have small children who hang out together. Anyway, so I've used that fiber for a lot of things, and then I started spinning on my Turkish spindle after the Tour de Fleece. I started spinning the brown fiber into a thin-ish single. I didn't really have plans for it. I was just spinning to spin, and I didn't have a fiber that I wanted to spin instead because I didn't have a ton of fiber options. I used the Corriedale, I think, during Tour de Fleece. It was bright colors, like springtime. So I spun a turtle up of it, and then it just sat there and sat there and sat there for years. And it's gone through the move with me. And I went over there sometime last week and looked at my spinning stuff, glanced at it, didn't look at it on purpose. And I was like, hey, what about that brown? So I brought it over to my desk where my hobbledehoy batlings were sitting, and I put it against it, and I was like, oh, brown and aqua. I like brown and aqua together. So that's what I did. I applied the hobbledehoy batlings with that brown yarn, and I had to spin up some I just spin up more of the brown because I realized with, I don't know, probably 2 batlings or 3 batlings worth of fiber left that I needed to, that I was going to run out. That was my last 2 days of the tour. I didn't even work on my other spinning projects the last 2 days. I was just applying this because it's what I wanted to spin, and I was still spinning, so I figured it counted. And it kind of counted because I was kind of using an old work in progress yarn, right? Anyway, I'm super excited about this. I have about 150 yards, and it's still a little damp, so it smells. Okay, so someone on their podcast was talking about why do people smell their yarn? I don't know, but this, I don't usually smell my yarn, but this is, the batlings are Targi and Angelina, Sorry Silk, and something else. Is the bag on my desk? No. No, I don't see it. It's probably over by my spinning thing somewhere. Actually, it's probably on my desk and I just can't see it. But I don't know if it's just because it's damp, but it smells like a sheep. Like, it smells like the petting zoo at the, or the children's zoo section of the Cincinnati Zoo. It's not a bad thing, it's just like in your face. It smells like sheep. So this is it. Isn't it beautiful? Oh, I'm so in love with this. I'm so in love with it. I purposely went thick and thin on it. I didn't plan how far apart the thick and thin parts were going to be, but sometimes I worked the slubs out and sometimes I left them really thick, and sometimes I intentionally went thin on the white so that it would be this jumble of texture when it was finished, even though I didn't know how I was going to finish it. I knew that I wanted it to be all over the place, and just, oh, I love it so much. I think it's so beautiful. And it's probably going to be a cowl or something for me. I don't know yet. Other spinning projects that I worked on during Tour de Fleece. So this is the Painted Tiger in the Eventide colorway. And the cup is bigger than it was last week. I don't know if you can tell, but this is how much I accomplished during Tour de Fleece. I had just a tiny bit spun on this cup, and then my spindle broke, so that's why it's on this, this knitting needle. And then I put all of this on the spindle, and this is spinning up to be a 3-ply heavy lace light fingering. That's my plan anyway. We'll see what it is when it grows up. It is a merino silk blend. And then I have put, I don't know, 2 or 3 layers on this turtle. This is my longest spinning whip. And this is all that I've spun out of 8 ounces. It's just the start of a turtle. It's not even a full turtle yet. It will get there. I plan to keep it out in my vision and hopefully spin on it just a little bit every week. I would like to say every day, but that's not realistic. So a little bit every week, hopefully, so that I will eventually make it through those 8 ounces of fiber, because the colors are really pretty. This is my next little chunk of fiber to spin. It's this brown and blue, and it's spinning up very lovely. The white in it makes it look kind of silvery as you spin. So I'll be working on that. That's Hippie Penguin fibers in the Carnival Bears colorway. Whew, okay, so knitting. I did some of that this week. I will show you the least impressive to most impressive because I like doing that. So I finished I didn't even finish the first zipper hexagon sock because you go back after and pick up the toe. Let me get my sock blocker so you can actually see it. So this is what the sock looks like. The 2 sides look completely different. So that side is very orange and this side is very blue. I'll let you guess which one I like better. So what you do is you knit up and then you do the toes last or the cuffs last. You can do either or last, whichever you want. But if you do the cuffs last, you're leaving live stitches waiting until the end. Um, I am I have not started the second one. And I think I was on the heel last week. I think I had done half of the heel. So I did the other half of the heel, and then I did one round for the leg, one round of hexagons for the leg, and then I did the cuff. And the reason why I did short is because I am cutting out sections of this yarn. This hexagon right here is the only one that looks like this. That's all yellow and orange. And it was the second hexagon that I put on the sock. I think once upon a time I said it was the first one, but it wasn't. It was the second one that I put on the sock. I hate this one. Hate it. Like, it ruined my mojo on these socks for a long time. Not that particular one. When I got to that color sequence again, I didn't work on the sock for about a week because I was like, ugh, I just don't like it at all. So I've decided to cut this out of the pattern, and it happens, I think I do 5 hexagons, and then the 6th one is this, or maybe I work 6 hexagons and the 7th one is that. I don't remember. But I'm cutting a decent chunk out of the yarn. So I weighed the yarn after I finished this first round of leg hexagons, and it was 58 grams. I was like, ooh, I didn't weigh the yarn before I started knitting, so I don't know what it was before I started knitting, and I could weigh this sock. That would be smart, right? I haven't done that yet. I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so this sock weighs 29 grams, and I have a little over 50 grams left of this. So I'm in a good place because the other sock will take 29 grams, and then I still have to do the toes. So I think that should be fine. I don't think that I'll need a spare yarn for it, and I should have enough for a hexagon, hexapuffs or whatever. So I should have some left over. But yeah, in the ball, it all looks really lovely, and you can't tell that there are huge chunks where it would be yellow and orange. I don't know if I would like it better in something that didn't cause the yarn to knit up in this way, but the sock does, or this pattern does. By the way, would you like to know what pattern this is? This is the Zipper Hexagon sock by Kirsten Hall, and I really, really love this pattern. This is the 3rd time that I'm knitting it. I don't repeat patterns frequently. There are a handful that I repeat, but I don't repeat a lot of them. So this is the 3rd time I'm making this, and I will be making kind of short toes. So this is almost a finished sock, but I won't be putting the toe in this one until I finish the second one. And I'm glad that I decided to cut out that yellow bit, but I don't know, I didn't feel like working on it. I should have immediately cast on the second sock when I finished the first one, and I didn't. I don't have second sock syndrome, I just haven't started it yet, mostly because I set the needles somewhere and I'm not 100% sure. If I had to guess, I would guess it's in a bag right next to me on the floor. Not positive though. I also worked on child tube socks, and I don't know, I did 10 rounds or something. Something completely unimpressive. I don't think I started the final ribbing bit. So you can see that I started the final ribbing pattern. It's still the first sock. Probably not getting these 2 pairs of socks done by the end of the month because it's already the 27th and there's 31 days. So maybe if I focused on one or the other, I could finish the pair, but that's probably not going to happen. It might, but it's not likely that I'll finish those by the end of the month. Okay, most impressive. No, wait. Before most impressive, I started No, I lied. Let's do most impressive now. Most impressive is the Haleakala socks by Cookie A, and I was at the stitch marker right here last week, and legs are finished, heels are finished. It's a flap and gusset heel, and now I am working on the gusset. This pattern is Haleakala by Cookie A, and the gussets for the twisted version, which is what I decided to do. Here's the cable pattern, and the it looks like a slipper. So this is the top of the foot, and one side comes in like this, and one side comes in like that. The gusset decreases are not in the normal place on this sock, and I kind of love it. Also, I love this yarn. Cookie is a genius. If you haven't knit her stuff, go knit her stuff. I say that, I think, all the time, but it's true. So for color reasons, this is the other sock. As you can see, they are quite different. Let me put the other one on my hand. This is going to be awkward and fun. Because I'm tied up in my magic loop. Okay, so they are different colors-ish. Same colorway. They look related. They look like cousins, though. They don't necessarily look like sisters. So to help tie the socks together, I decided to change the yarn for the heels. So I cut the yarn, and I have one end to weave in on either side, because I wove in one and left the other. I changed the yarn for the heels, and then I'm going to do the same thing at the toes. So the blue and yellow sock will have the pink and white heel and toe, and the pink and white sock will have the blue and yellow toe and heel. And I think that'll be a good way to make sure that they look like they're a pair, even though they'll be fraternal. They also, the pattern is written with the cable motif, only twisting one direction, but I mirrored it on the second sock because why not? It doesn't take that much more effort, and I think I like when when cables on socks mirror if it makes sense to, and I thought it made sense for these. I love these socks so much. These will be finished by the end of the month. So 1 out of 3 pairs of socks finished by the end of the month, which is why the other 2 probably aren't going to. I set these goals not realizing that I would become obsessed with Tour de Fleece because I haven't been spinning that much. And then Tour de Fleece happened and I started spinning and I was like, oh yeah, I love spinning. And I really do love spinning, but I feel like now that Tour de Fleece is over, it's going on a downturn. This might not be true if I allow myself to pick up another thicker spin, but everything that I'm spinning on right now is thin because I finished my hobbledehoy, and I'm not spinning the worsted weight brown anymore. Everything else is thin. So I might start spinning something else that'll be thicker and continue spinning the thin things. Okay, the other work in progress I started with my hand-dyed yarn. So do you remember the hank of yarn? I was not in love with the colors in that hank of yarn that Gabriel and I dyed together. I loved dyeing it with Gabriel. That was really fun. But then I saw it and I was like, oh man, it's so orange. But then I put it into a cake and it's still definitely orange, but it is not so orange. Now it looks like popsicles, and I'm okay with popsicles. I wound it into the cake, and the Frankenstein, I'm making the Frankenstein pattern by the Zarina socks, and my knitting group and I, we are going to knit it for each other together sort of thing, and we are supposed to trade off every 2 weeks. Well, yesterday was the 2-week mark, but one of the people didn't have her yarn yet, so it didn't count, so we're not trading off until I think the 9th of July. But on Saturday, I was like, oh, we're supposed to trade off tomorrow, and I haven't even started, so let me do that, just in case. So I started, and the Frankenstein pattern is a sock pattern that's designed to be a sheep to sock pattern. So someone spins yarn and then 5 people can knit on the sock at the same time. And then you steek and sew together to make a pair of socks. One of the sections is toes and heels. So you knit all 4 at once. And I started mine, but I realized when I looked at the picture that mine didn't look right. I had put my increases in the incorrect spot. So this is what I had done, and now I'm going to frog it so I can recast it on. Not until the after the beginning of the month though, so that I can work on the projects that I wanted to finish by the end of the month. But that's the progress that I made in one evening, so I'm not really that worried about the section I'm doing is toes and heels, and that is a little over a third of the knitting for it. So as long as I give myself a couple days to knit it, so if I start on July 7th, or August 7th, I should be fine to finish it off in time to trade it off. And I'm working from the outside of the cake because we will be handing off the yarn and cutting the pieces. Like, I will cut the yarn for this piece and then hand off the yarn. So I decided to work from the outside because I didn't want the yarn to collapse or have anybody have to rewind it immediately when they got it. All of the socks that you've seen today have been worked on US size 1 2.25 millimeter needles. I also started a barn raising square, and I'm almost finished. I'm on the last round before I attach the black, and I've been working on it as I've been talking to you, so that's why I'm in the middle of a needle. But this is what it looks like. I have my zombie stitch marker on one side and just a regular clip marker on the other. That way I know which side is which is needle 1 and which is needle 2 for increase purposes, so that I don't have to think about it. Anyway, this is what it looks like so far. I did use the yellow in the middle, and I barely broke into the red. I think it's like 3 or 4. Let me count. 4 rounds of red on one side and then 3 where it joined. That's how many it's going to have. Did I tell you guys? Okay, so this is very exciting for me. A couple weeks ago, I asked Gabriel what his favorite color was, and he said, if you guessed orange, you're incorrect. He has changed his favorite color to red. I am excited because I don't love red, but I like red. And I like red way more than I like orange. So now I can make him things that are red instead. Oh, okay, so this is barn raising square number 34. It will be finished by the time I'm finished editing this. I forgot to show you Gabriel's spinning, and of course the spindle fell at some point during this recording. So this is Gabriel's spinning. I think he spun probably 5 days during the tour, which is good. I'm okay with that. And only a length or 2 at a time most days. A few days he did, a full 15 minutes. But that is his spinning, and it is orangey, but it's red orange, so he still likes it. And his plan is that we're going to make a dragon using that yarn. So that's what we're going to do when he finally spins all that yarn. But this is his first turtle, so that's going to be a while. I might help him out if I feel like he's getting impatient or frustrated with it, but mostly I make him do it all by himself. I did also, in modular land, I did 6 hexapuffs. I wanted to do 8 because I did 1 celebratory, so I wanted to have 8. Well, actually I wanted to have 9, so I could have the 2 celebratory for the week and 7 for knitting, but that did not happen. So first, let's show you the non-celebratory. I made this using 716 knit, 716 socks. In the My Entire Shoe collection is based on the idea of dating guys 3 inches taller than me or more. I think that's right. I may have mixed up a word in there. I don't know. But it's a really long title, And that's what the square or the hexapuff looks like. I made 3 using the opal. And none of these are mixed up yarn. That's all how they striped on their own. I made one using the leftover Nerd Girl yarns from Claire, and I didn't even use all of it. There's still this little tiny ball from the Nerd Girl yarns. And I made a celebratory hexapuff. This is sea glass. What is this base called? It's from Solar Flare Fibers. Don't remember the base, but the colorway was sea glass, and then this yellow is just a scrap of yellow that I've been using in everything. In every hexapuff that needs a leftover bit that the yellow will sort of match for. I don't remember which friend gave me that ball of yarn, but it was from one of the people who I hang out with in VKNs. It wasn't from the ZK. So that narrows it down from like one of 200 people to one in, 12 people or something. I have new things. Oh, by the way, I'm still reading all the things that I was reading last week. Not much to say about it. I'm really, really enjoying the Demon King. I'll talk more about it later. I don't know. I don't have a lot to say on what I'm reading. I'm reading. I don't have a lot to say about it. I have a bag in my lap full of stuff, so I'm going to try to keep the crinkling to a minimum. Sorry if you're wearing earbuds. First, I have tea from Josh. I don't remember what this one is. Josh, what is this one? He bought tins, and I didn't write down what it was, but it smells lovely. He gave me some chocolate macaroon. The writing has washed off, but you can smell the coconut like whoa through this, and I kind of love it. Everything smells like coconut that this is around, and I'm not angry about that. It smells so good. When I opened my luggage, when I got home, I was like, ooh, what is that lovely smell? It was really, really strong. And this is the blend that he made for last year, ICT, and Gabriel loves this tea. Here, since you're interrupting my podcast, come here. Okay, show everybody what you made. Come this way a little. He made a kite, and look at that dragon that he drew. That's pretty awesome. I think you need a closer view. I like that dragon. It's pretty cool. Okay, go away.
I need to scream.
Not right now. I'm recording my podcast.
But
why are you bothering me when I'm recording my podcast?
Because I really...
What is the rule? No bothering when I'm recording. You can have string after I'm finished. I already told you that. Shut the door, please. Thank you. Gabriel really, really likes this tea, and I really like this tea, so Josh bought me a whole bag. So spoiled. Let's see, other things. Jackie made these super cute little zombie stitch marker shrinky dinks and ring stitch markers, which you know I love and use all the time. This is not from the ZK. This is from Knitting Yesterday. Claire handed off. Lorraine handed off this leftover bit. She did a test knit scarfy shawl thing, and she gave this to me so that I could hexapuff with it. Which is perfect. Should be enough for a hexapuff. It doesn't look like a fingering weight, maybe a heavy fingering weight, maybe a sport weight, so it should definitely be enough. This is a gorgeous cowl that I'm pretty sure is Tosh Merino Light because Josh made it. No sweater this year, but a cowl that's, almost as long as my torso. So it looks beautiful either way. I don't know which side is the top, but it's all these different stitch patterns and it's very tall. It will be very warm. And it's perfect that I have this cowl because I left all of my samples for my designs with Josh in Minnesota because I don't really need my samples except when I'm at the ZK right now. I don't really need them. So I left them with him because he can just bring them to next year's ZK for me. But that means that I left my cowls because the only cowls that I own are my design cowls. So now I have one. That's just beautiful. Okay, let's take a moment and look at this again. So it starts with a slip stitch pattern, or ends with, I don't know. I could look and figure out where the bind off is and which one's the cast on, but I'm not going to. And then traveling stitches. And then, I don't know what this is. Is this brioche maybe? I don't know. Or, yeah, I don't know what that is. It's pretty. And then a lacy bit and a stockinette rest band, and then chevrons, and then stockinette, and then garter. Super pretty. Super pretty. It's too warm to wear it, but I want to wear it because it's really pretty. This was his Camp Loopy 1 project for the year, I think. I don't know. You can watch his podcast. I'm pretty sure he talks about it on there. The very first booth that I hit at the ZK was the booth shared by Miracle Jen and Hobbledehoy. And I was looking through Hobbledehoy's fiber because I knew I was buying something from her because I'm a little obsessed with her stuff. Just a little. I don't have a lot of it, which is sad. But I don't spin a ton, so it makes sense that I don't have a lot of it. I just spun one batling. I have one more batling of hers, and now a braid of fiber. And I want more. But I was looking through her braids of fiber because the batling area was flooded with people and the fiber was not. So, or the braids were not. So it's like, well, I'll look at braids. I mean, it's still her stuff. It's still going to be gorgeous. And there were so many gorgeous things that I was like, I don't know which one I want. So I kept looking through the braids and looking through the layers of braids and more braids. And finally, I saw this. And I put my hand on it and I was like, ooh, that's pretty. And it was probably the third or fourth braid back. So I was holding on to it and I was moving braids off so I could put them back on and take this one off. And someone said, oh, are you getting that one? And I was like, yes, that one is mine. She was like, oh, I was hoping that was not the one you were digging for because it is so pretty. Oh, this is acceptable pink in my life. It's beautiful pink that's kind of a hot pink but darker sort of range. So beautiful. And then the browns and the grays and the blacks. I just love it so much. So this is Coruscant, maybe? Maybe that's how you say it. I don't know. And it is merino and silk 80/20. It's 4 ounces. It's very soft. And you know, merino is like my happy place. So if I had seen this color on a different base and it looked exactly like this, I would have bought it on a different base. But I saw this and I wanted the color. And I didn't have to be worried digging through the braids because there's no cashmere in any of her braids as far as I know. And I don't know if she has cashmere in her batlings. But I didn't have to worry digging through the braids. And I saw this one and I was like, yes, that. And then it was merino silk and I was like, oh, done. It's done. I just need this in my life. So pretty. whatever. I'm totally predictable in my fiber color choices this year. I don't have a problem with that. While I was in the booth, the first thing that I picked up in the booth, actually, when I first walked in, I saw this color. This is Marigold Jen now. She does the yarn, and Jen does the yarn, and Liz does the fiber, and beautiful stuff. So I saw this color, and I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty. I kind of like that. And then I saw the colorway name, and it was a done deal, because it's called Yoshi, and my nerdy video game loving self needed it. What is it going to be? I don't know. It could be anything though. It's just beautiful. And then the second skein I bought was the skein that I went in for. I knew that this skein was coming home with me. I said last week that there were very few things that I had plans for to get at the market that I knew that I was going to get. Maybe it wasn't last week. It was the week before. This was one of those things. I knew that I wanted a sockable yarn in the Sidewalk Chalk colorway. This is my favorite colorway of hers. I just love it. The browns with all the colors, and it's so pretty. This is actually the skein of yarn that I asked her to base the copper patina colorway, which is what I used in my shawl, Cog in the Machine. I basically said, I want Sidewalk Chalk, but grittier with less of the, with none of the non-patina colors in it. And she did an amazing job. That colorway is so beautiful, but this is my favorite. Look at that. Brown with the rainbow. It looks like a sidewalk when it's raining and chalk is dripping off. Brilliant. Brilliant. I was down at the yarn truck, which I'm not showing you this week. Yarn truck yarn is next week. But I was down at the yarn truck and I had done a quick walkthrough, but I was overwhelmed. There were only 5 people allowed on the truck at a time. So you wait in line and then you get in and you're surrounded by yarn. Surrounded. So I was overwhelmed and I was like, okay, I love everything, so I'm not going to be mad if any of it gets sold because there are other things that I love on this truck. Even if like half of the stock was gone by the time I got back in, I would be fine because I loved everything on the truck so much. So I stepped on the truck and I stepped off without buying anything. And I was like, I'll be back, Jenna. I need a moment to like, now that I've seen it all, now I need a moment to think about it. And as I was in line to go on the second time, Josh said, hey, I'm in fishnets. Would you like something since I'm here and you're not here? And, the booth was crowded. And I was like, yeah, sure. That'd be good. And what he picked up is the Zombie 10 colorway. So this is self-striping. It is the bootstrap base. It's 2-ply fingering, 80% superwash BFL, 20% nylon. And this stripes in 10 stripes. 5 are green and 5 are gray. And that's really pretty. If you remember last year, ZK, I think that I mentioned last year's ZK, but maybe not. I think I mentioned that I wanted this skein of yarn, but maybe I just thought it really hard and I didn't actually say it in the podcast. But I wanted this skein of yarn, so he picked it up for me. And I love it. Also, let's see. So those are my market purchases. There will be more that you will see next week, but I still have more goodies to show you this week. Corey, iRock Knits, gets bags printed for and hands them out. This says, knitting is my love language, and mine is obviously well loved. It holds my, what is that? There are mini skeins in here. How did I not know that there are mini skeins? I don't know. There are mini skeins in there. 2 of them. Exciting. But it holds my fiber, no more mini skeins, for stuffing hexapuffs. I didn't know I had mini skeins in there. It's like finding extra presents. Okay. That one says knitting is my love language, and I love it. It's very cute. Beth and Carrie of the Foxes and Socks podcast were handing out little goodie bags. I'm sorry for that crinkle. So what they have on them, now I'm going to deconstruct it. I've not deconstructed it yet because I wanted to show you and I kept forgetting to put it in my pile of things to show you during the week. First of all, that packaging is adorable. So awesome. You know I'm a sucker for packaging. They put some of their favorite things in here. So they got the Starbucks Instant Via in the Valencia Orange, which is my favorite flavor of the refreshers. I love the Valencia Orange. And an adorable fox stitch minder thing because it's got the clasp at the top. Super cute. And a Foxes and Socks button. I don't know if you can see, but it says Foxes and Socks on there. And it has their logo. And then chocolate covered gummy bears, which I have not tried. And look, oh, it's got rainbow washi tape. I love that. Okay, so I haven't tried these yet, obviously, but I'm going to today. And if I think they're delicious, I will eat them all. And if I don't, I will share them with my children because I'm a good mom like that. I have to test them first to see that they're not poison, obviously. Not that I think that Carrie and Beth would poison anybody, but I don't know, maybe. This is a tin from Little Skein and the Big Wool. Annie Light, she donated, I don't know, 50 or something to the retreat, and Megan and Amy passed them out to people who helped in the retreat. So since I was a teacher, I got one, and it's not just a tin, it's a tin, it's a tin with stitch markers, including one charm marker. So mine is a sheep, with a little green bead, and then I have some with green beads and some with purple. It was totally random. You didn't get to see what your stitch markers looked like when they handed you the tin. Mine is perfect, and Josh's made me giggle because he got a set that had a butterfly charm and then I think it was pink and yellow beads, which he gave to Haley. Made me giggle. And then I have some mini skeins. I'm not sure who these mini skeins came from, but there are two of them. And I distinctly recall Haley threw this one at me, but I don't know where it came from. She just kind of threw it at me across the table. Like came walking up from somewhere else, threw it at me and walked away. That happens to me a lot at the ZK. My friends are like, "Ooh, here, have this." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then these are Miss Bab's mini skeins, which we got in the goodie bags. And Haley and Lisa, I think, gave me theirs, but maybe not. Maybe it was someone else. And these are, I have two different bases. So this is the Yet lace yarn, and this one's a Babette. And these two are Swatch Me. Oh, they're all called Swatch Me. They're 10-yard samples. These two are Big Silk Worsted, and this one up here is Beach Glass, and this one is another Babette. And the Babettes are non-repeatable colorways, I think. The last thing that I have to show you for the week is this super awesome stitch marker. This may look kind of familiar, but it's not the same thing, I promise. So last year I got a bacon stitch marker from Bacon Fairy, Mandy. And this year she had sparkly bacon. Can you see that it has glitter on it? Yes, you can. Okay, so sparkly bacon stitch marker. I'm so excited. I love that so much. I feel that I am slacking by not making things to give to people at the ZK, but I don't know what I would make. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I hope you made something fantastic with your sticks and string, and I will see you next week. Bye!